Part 1. Introduction, Purpose and Audience. This training story is written for entrepreneurs, the unemployed, the underemployed, and people on Social Security who want to learn how to ideate new products. Section 1. Netflix, Streaming Service, Definition and Significance. Definition. Netflix streaming service is a subscription-based digital entertainment platform that delivers on-demand video content over the internet. It combines licensed movies and television shows with original programming, personalized recommendations, adaptive streaming technology, and multi-device playback. The service emphasizes ease of discovery, low-friction access, no long-term contracts, and continual investment in content and platform features to retain subscribers. Significance: Netflix matters to product ideation for several reasons that translate across industries. Democratization of distribution. Netflix tore down traditional gatekeepers by delivering content directly to viewers worldwide. That shift shows how rethinking distribution can unlock latent demand and reduce reliance on intermediaries. Data-informed content and personalization. Netflix uses viewing telemetry, completion rates, and engagement signals to guide content investment and tailor recommendations. This demonstrates the power of using product-embedded data to inform what you build and promote. Platform and ecosystem thinking. Netflix is not just a catalog, it is an experience combined with device partnerships, local licensing, and original production. Ideation must consider the whole ecosystem around a product: content, technology, partners, and user context. Trade-offs between scale and local relevance. As Netflix scaled globally, it needed to balance a large centralized content strategy with local language originals and culturally relevant offerings. That balance is instructive for any product serving diverse users. Comparison with other companies. Legacy media conglomerates. Traditional broadcasters and studios benefited from decades of distribution relationships, advertising or pay television revenue, and content libraries. Compared to those incumbents, Netflix emphasized customer-first access and subscription economics rather than advertising dependency or rigid scheduling. Legacy firms have strengths in production networks and rights management. Netflix brought a different rhythm, treating the service as both a production studio and a global distribution system. Emerging streaming challengers. New entrants came to market focused on niche content, bundled offerings, or integrations with larger ecosystems. Some offered ad-supported tiers or leveraged existing media catalogs. Compared with these challengers, Netflix often pursued broad appeal and scale, investing in originals to reduce dependence on external licensing. The contrast shows that an ideation path can be niche to scale or scale first with differentiated content. Both are valid, depending on resources and strategy. Technology platforms. Tech companies that built distribution or recommendation infrastructure, for example social platforms or video hosting sites, emphasize user-generated content and network effects. Netflix chose a curated, professionally produced content path and invested heavily in recommendation algorithms to guide discovery. The lesson is to pick whether your product will curate, enable, or aggregate, and design workflows, incentives, and moderation accordingly. Transition to ideation principles. The Netflix story yields transferable principles for generating product ideas in streaming and beyond. In Part 1, I present the initial set of these principles with explanation, common mistakes companies make, and concrete lessons learned. These first three principles establish the foundation: problem and user focus, minimal viable experience with constrained scope, and measurement plus qualitative insight. Principle 1. Start with real user goals, not content or technology. Explanation. Successful streaming experiences begin with clear user goals: escape, learn, connect, be inspired, or bond over shared stories. Netflix succeeds when it matches content to those motives and reduces friction to satisfy them. For ideation, anchor ideas in what people are trying to accomplish in context, on the commute, with family, in a second language learning session, or while multitasking. Technology or content catalogs are tools. The idea must solve a desire or job to be done that users care about. Common mistakes companies make. Building content first without clarity on user jobs. Teams assemble catalogs or produce shows expecting users to be drawn purely by supply, but without understanding why viewers would choose those titles over alternatives. Discovery and retention suffer. Assuming technology alone will create engagement. Companies deploy advanced codecs, recommendation engines, or flashy players expecting adoption. Without an attractive content mix or fit to user context, the tech underdelivers. Ignoring context of consumption. A one-size-fits-all experience fails when users consume on different devices, at different times, and with varying attention levels. Not segmenting use contexts leads to poor relevance. Lessons learned. Research the job to be done for at least a handful of target segments before planning content or features. Observe how people currently satisfy the need and the trade-offs they accept. Prioritize reducing friction for the most common user flows, discovering and watching a high-quality episode within 2 clicks on a smartphone, resuming where you left off, and syncing profiles across devices or household members. Prototype around user goals with mock catalogs, playlists, or curated recommendations to validate whether users feel the product helps them achieve their objective. Principle 2. Design a constrained, learnable first experience. Explanation. Netflix did not become everything at once. Early focus on streaming a curated set of titles with a simple subscription model allowed the team to refine playback, recommendation, and billing before scaling into originals and global markets. Constraining scope reduces complexity and accelerates learning. Pick a primary user segment, a core use case, and the minimal feature set that delivers meaningful value. Common mistakes companies make. Trying to be the full platform at launch. Teams aim for comprehensive features, live chat, social sharing, multi-tier pricing, internationalization, all at once, causing delays and diluted learning. Selecting too broad a target. Designing for everyone increases compromise and weakens the product's ability to win in any segment. Underinvesting in the basics. In streaming, core playback reliability, fast startup time, and robust billing are essential. Skimping here to get more visible features out is counterproductive. Lessons learned. Define a small set of core minimum lovable product that achieves one key user outcome. For example, discover and watch a high-quality episode within 2 clicks on a smartphone. Use a phased rollout. Validate core metrics and operational needs with one market, one device family, or a pilot group before wider distribution. Maintain architectural modularity so features like social viewing, downloads, or local language catalogs can be added without reworking the core. Principle 3. Measure engagement in meaningful ways and pair data with qualitative research. Netflix built its advantage by instrumenting user behavior, what people select, how long they watch, and where they stop, and combined it with creative judgment. Raw view counts are insufficient. Understanding completion rates, rewatch behavior, and the pathways users took to arrive at a title reveals deeper signals. Quantitative metrics are powerful when complemented by interviews, viewer diaries, and usability sessions that explain why the numbers move. Common mistakes companies make. Chasing surface-level metrics. Teams focus on total views or signups without tracking retention, session length, or satisfaction. Treating algorithms as black boxes. Relying solely on the output of recommendation models without human review can create feedback loops that amplify mediocre content. Running experiments without clear hypotheses. A/B tests with multiple uncontrolled variables or without pre-specified success criteria produce noise, not insight. Lessons learned. Define a small set of core engagement metrics that map to user value. First time to content, session completion rate, week-over-week retention, and conversion from trial to paid. Complement dashboards with regular qualitative sessions. Ask viewers why they chose a show, where they struggled, and what alternatives they considered. Design experiments that test hypotheses tied to user experiences. For example, if we surface short-form previews before recommendations, first time to content will decrease by a measurable amount. Closing of Part 1 and what follows. Part 1 introduced Netflix streaming service as a framing device and covered the first 3 product ideation principles: user goal focus, constrained first experiences, and measurement plus qualitative insight. In Part 2, I will explore the next set of product principles: designing for discoverability and personalization at scale, aligning monetization.
Part 2. Overview and Purpose. This part continues the training story for entrepreneurs, the unemployed, the underemployed, and people on Social Security. Building on the foundations from Part 1, it covers the next set of ideation principles drawn from Netflix streaming service. These principles focus on discovery and personalization at scale, aligning monetization with user value, and building partnerships and content ecosystems. For each principle, I explain the idea, list common mistakes companies make, give practical lessons, and compare Netflix to legacy media, tech platforms, and niche challengers to surface trade-offs you can apply when ideating new products. Principle 4. Design discovery and personalization that feel human. Explanation. Discovery and personalization are not merely algorithmic problems, they're trust and experience problems. Netflix invested in recommendation systems, editorial curation, and interface design to reduce the cognitive load of finding something worth watching. Good discovery nudges users towards satisfying choices while leaving room for surprise and social signaling. The goal is to make the first meaningful connection between user intent and content as fast and frictionless as possible. Common mistakes companies make. Relying solely on black box recommendations. Teams push algorithmic suggestions without human curation or contextual signals, producing repetitive or stale results. Over-personalizing to the point of isolation. Hyper-tailored feeds can create filter bubbles that reduce serendipity and shared experiences. Cluttering the interface with too many choices. Presenting users with endless rows and options increases decision fatigue and reduces completion. Lessons learned. Blend algorithmic recommendations with editorial curation and simple, transparent explanations for why an item is suggested. Design for both personal relevance and social common ground. Features that surface trending local or group-fueled titles help create shared cultural moments. Limit choice pathways for common tasks. Quick picks for the evening, family mode, and one-click resumes reduce friction and increase satisfaction. Comparison notes. Netflix versus legacy media. Traditional TV relied on programming schedules to shape discovery. Netflix replaced schedule with personalized surfaces. Legacy players can repurpose promotional muscle, but Netflix's strength is continual telemetry-informed refinement. Netflix versus social platforms. Social video often discovers via peer sharing and virality. Netflix excels in sustained cross-session personalization that optimizes for completion and retention rather than immediate virality. Netflix versus niche streamers. Niche services may prefer catalog depth and human curation for specific audiences. Netflix scales curation patterns while also investing in localized editors to preserve relevance. Principle 5. Align monetization with user value and life cycle. Explanation. A sustainable streaming idea pairs how the product earns with what users value over time. Netflix chose subscription as its primary model to align incentives toward long-term engagement and retention rather than maximizing one-off transactions or intrusive ads. For ideation, consider how your revenue approach supports the user journey from discovery through repeat use and how it affects trust and experience. Common mistakes companies make. Overly aggressive ad placement or paywalls during discovery degrade trust and reduce time spent. Baking complex pricing into launch. Confusing tiers, hidden fees, or unclear value differentials slow acquisition and increase churn. Waiting to test monetization. Teams delay pricing experiments until after large investments, missing early signals about willingness to pay or optimal packaging. Lessons learned. Start with simple, transparent pricing that maps to clear user benefits. Experiment with optional upgrades rather than forcing monetization into the primary experience. Experiment early with small groups. Trial lengths, price points, freemium conversion mechanics, and ad-supported variants reveal user sensitivities. Track revenue metrics alongside engagement. Lifetime value, churn, and trial conversion show whether monetization complements or undermines product value. Comparison notes. Netflix versus ad-supported services. Advertising monetization allows lower entry cost but can incentivize attention-maximizing content and disruptive placements. Netflix's subscription-first approach prioritizes sustained satisfaction and control over content pacing rather than immediate virality. Versus transactional models. Pay-per-view works for occasional blockbuster releases, but subscriptions better suit habitual consumption. Entrepreneurs should pick the model that matches expected usage frequency and user affordability. Principle 6. Build partnerships and a content ecosystem strategically. Explanation. Content and distribution partnerships are multipliers. Netflix built licensing relationships, co-productions, and later in-house studios to control supply and manage costs. Partnerships range from device integrations and telco bundles to local producers and marketing collaborators. When ideating, plan where partnerships will accelerate reach, reduce friction, or supply differentiated value that your core team cannot create quickly. Common mistakes companies make. Overcommitting to expensive content before distribution is proven. Investing heavily in supply without reliable audience signals strains cash and distracts from product-market fit. Chasing every possible partner. A scattershot partnership strategy wastes attention and creates operational complexity without clear ROI. Neglecting contractual and regional realities. Licensing terms, exclusivities, and local regulations can create strategic constraints if not considered early. Lessons learned. Use partnerships to test demand. Small co-marketing deals, limited window licensing, or pilot co-productions give signal without large commitments. Prioritize partnerships that reduce friction to adoption. Device pre-installs, telco bundles, or local payment integration can unlock underserved segments. Negotiate contracts with flexibility for scaling. Avoid rigid long-term exclusives until you understand long-term value and regional demand. Comparison notes. Netflix versus legacy studios. Traditional studios controlled large catalogs but relied on established distribution. Netflix disrupted this by buying rights selectively and then investing in originals to reduce supplier risk. Netflix versus platform aggregators. Aggregators may rely on search and discovery across many suppliers. Netflix's blend of owned and licensed content created control over both supply and promotion. New entrants can emulate either path, aggregate first or produce first, depending on resources. Practical tactics to apply these principles on a small budget. Discovery tests. Build micro-curated playlists in a Facebook group or lightweight landing page with mock recommendations. Measure clicks, time on player, and direct feedback about why people choose items. Monetization experiments. Run small paid pilots with clear promises, short trials, small fees, or premium previews. Use simple payment tools and track conversion and refund behavior. Partnership pilots. Seek one local partner, an independent creator, community venue, or device seller to run a co-promoted pilot, then measure referral traffic and retention from that channel. Preparing for Part 3. This part covered discovery and personalization, monetization alignment, and partnership strategy. Together with Part 1, these principles form the core of ideation for streaming or related digital services. In Part 3, I will present the final two principles, design for resilience and long-term retention, and operational readiness and cost discipline. Tie the full set into a step-by-step launch and validation plan, and provide practical mini-case studies trainees can run on Facebook and adjacent platforms with minimal resources. The goal is to leave learners with concrete actions they can take in the coming week to move from observation to validated, fundable product concepts.
Part 3. Overview and Purpose. This final part completes the training story for entrepreneurs, the unemployed, the underemployed, and people on Social Security. It presents the remaining ideation principles drawn from Netflix streaming service, a practical launch and validation checklist, and short mini-case studies you can run on Facebook and adjacent platforms with minimal resources. The emphasis is actionable experiments, operational realities, and lessons that translate from streaming to other product ideas. Principle 7. Design for resilience and long-term retention. Explanation. Retention is the compound interest of product success. Netflix's growth relied not only on acquisition, but on keeping subscribers engaged month after month through fresh content, personalized recommendations, and features that increase habitual use. Resilience means building product habits, reducing churn drivers, and preparing to respond when competitors or market shocks appear. For ideation, prioritize features and mechanics that encourage repeat return, deepen commitment, and make leaving costly in time or social context. Common mistakes companies make. Optimizing for acquisition at the expense of retention. Teams spend heavily to attract users, but fail to secure reasons for them to return. Neglecting lifecycle messaging and onboarding. Users who never reach an activation moment churn quickly. Overloading with features that temporarily boost metrics but do not create lasting routines. Lessons learned. Define the activation moment for your product, the simplest action after sign-up that correlates strongly with long-term retention, and make achieving it obvious and fast. Use content calendars, newsletters, reminders, and social features to create habitual touchpoints, but avoid spammy frequency that erodes goodwill. Measure cohort retention, not just aggregate engagement. Small improvements to early cohorts compound significantly over time. Comparison notes. Netflix versus legacy TV. Traditional programming created habitual viewing through schedules and appointment TV. Netflix recreated habit through personalized cues and release strategies, showing habit can be engineered without fixed schedules. Netflix versus social platforms. Social apps can drive addictive loops through social feed dynamics. Netflix's challenge was to foster loyal consumption without resorting to manipulative attention tactics, an ethic that preserves trust long-term. Principle 8. Plan operational readiness and cost discipline. Explanation. A streaming product's promise must be deliverable at sustainable cost. Netflix balanced content spend, licensing, and infrastructure costs with subscriber revenue and geographic pricing. For any product idea, model the operational costs early. Customer support, content or inventory sourcing, payment fees, moderation, and fulfillment, and design to keep marginal cost per user manageable as you grow. Common mistakes companies make. Assuming low marginal costs without modeling scale. Small pilots often hide costs that explode as users increase. Underestimating customer service and moderation labor.
Social friction and disputes require human time that scales with usage. Overinvesting in expensive supply before demand is proven, creating cash pressure and strategic drift. Lessons learned. Create simple unit economics models using conservative assumptions for acquisition cost, churn, average revenue per user, and variable service costs, and revisit them weekly during early growth. Build operations in layers, human-driven processes for early quality control that are instrumented and automated later when patterns stabilize. Negotiate flexible content or supplier deals where possible, pilot windows, revenue sharing, or short-term exclusives so you can scale spending as demand materializes. Step-by-step launch and validation checklist. This checklist turns observation into a validated concept and a repeatable operating plan. Use words for small counts and explicit decision criteria. Step 1. Choose a tight target problem and user segment. Describe who has the problem, where they encounter it, and how they currently solve it. Rank problems by frequency and emotional intensity. Step 2. Write a one-sentence value hypothesis. Format. For people who, user, our product helps them, job, by solution, resulting in outcome. This keeps ideas testable. Step 3. Design a low-cost experiment to test demand and activation. Options: a mock landing page with an email or waitlist, a Facebook group pilot with hosted sessions, a paid ad test linking to a simple sign-up funnel, or a concierge or manual fulfillment of the core service. Step 4. Define success metrics and qualitative signals. Metrics: click-through rate, sign-up conversion, trial to paid conversion, first week retention. Qualitative: reasons for sign-up, barriers reported, alternative solutions cited. Step 6. Run the test for a short fixed interval and collect data. Commit to a clear time box, gather both numeric results and interview a sample of respondents to capture motivations and objections. Step 7. Analyze, decide, and iterate. If success criteria are met, expand the experiment scale or add one new feature. If not, decide to pivot, change target segment or solution, iterate on messaging, or shelve the idea and record learnings. Step 8. Build operational scaffolding before scaling. Implement basic support processes, payment handling, moderation rules, and a lean automation plan. Recompute unit economics with real data. Step 9. Scale deliberately. Ramp marketing and distribution after ensuring retention cohorts hold and operational costs remain sustainable. Use partnerships to amplify reach while guarding product quality. Mini case studies and exercises trainees can run on Facebook. Case Study 1. Neighborhood Film Night Curation. Context and idea. Local communities want easy ways to host affordable film nights with legal rights to show films and a simple ticketing flow. Low-cost experiment. Create a Facebook event announcing a themed neighborhood screening using public domain films or licensed short programs. Charge a small suggested donation and use manual check-in at the door. Post a simple poll about preferred genres to validate demand and preferences. What to measure? Attendance rate, repeat interest, RSVPs for future events, feedback on price and venue, ease of coordination. Key learning. If initial events draw committed attendees and repeat RSVPs, the founder can test low-cost licensing deals with indie distributors and pilot online ticketing integration. Case Study 2. Micro-documentary series to validate content hooks. Context and idea. A creator notices community interest in local worker stories and wants to test a serialized mini-documentary format before investing in production. Low-cost experiment. Publish 3 short videos on a private Facebook group over 2 weeks, invite member feedback, and run a small ad to recruit viewers from a targeted locality. Offer a discussion live session after the last episode. What to measure? Completion rates for each episode, discussion engagement, sign-ups for future content, willingness to pay for early access or extras. Key learning. If high engagement and active discussion indicate a sustainable niche, low completion suggests format or length needs adjustment. Case Study 3.
Micro Skillshare streaming pilot for neighborhood trades. Context and idea. Many people seek practical skills, basic plumbing, phone repair, or sewing, delivered as live, affordable workshops. Low-cost experiment. Host a single paid live session via Facebook Live with interactive Q&A and a small cohort. Use manual fulfillment for materials or follow-up resources. What to measure? Conversion from interest to paid seats, session attendance, follow-up requests for advanced sessions, and rated usefulness. Key learning. If participants value interactivity and hands-on Q&A, design subscription bundles for weekly micro-workshops and test small group pricing. Practical teaching tips for trainees. Facilitate rapid cycles. Run a 2-week sprint where trainees pick one observed problem, design a test, and present results. The short cycle reinforces learning and reduces fear of failure. Emphasize documentation. Require a 1-page experiment brief with hypothesis, metrics, and decision rules so every test produces teachable artifacts. Use peer review. Trainees present plans and get feedback on assumptions and operational risks. Peers often spot practical constraints trainers miss. Final synthesis and motivating close. The 8 principles together form a practical framework for ideating services inspired by Netflix streaming service. Start with clear user goals, constrain the first experience, pair data with qualitative insight, design humane discovery and personalization, align monetization with user value, build partnerships strategically, design for retention, and plan operations and cost discipline early. Comparing Netflix with legacy media and tech platforms reveals trade-offs. Scale can bring bargaining power but also cost pressure. Personalization can deepen engagement but risks isolation. Subscription revenue encourages long-term focus but requires sustained value delivery. Next steps for trainees. Choose one problem you see in a Facebook group this week and write the 1-sentence value hypothesis. Design a 1-week experiment from the checklist above and commit to running it with at least a small paid promo or targeted invite. Document results and share them with a peer group for feedback.